roll call, please.
Councilmember Klur.
Here.
Councilmember Collings.
Here.
Councilmember Stackfleth.
On his way.
Councilmember Glodman. Here. Mayor Redmond.
Here. All right, we have no special presentations or announcements, so we will go into council reports on closed session. Todd, if you want to take that.
Sure. In our closed session, we discussed tentative agreements with police, fire, and unrepresented units, and council was in agreement that we should support those TAs, and we'll be bringing those MOUs to the next council meeting.
Okay. Thank you very much. Moving on to public comment. This will be 3 minutes for anybody wanting to speak on not anything on the agenda. If you want to come on up.
Good evening. Ed Valenzuela, City of Mount Shasta resident and your current county supervisor. Just wanted to give you a brief update where we are with plowing the Ever Memorial Road in Castle Lake. I had a chance to listen to the previous city council meeting. Just want to clear the air and get straightforward where we're at. We are plowing the road to the best of our ability. Tom's going to give you an update on the worst piece of equipment we ever bought. Suffice to say that the intent is always to plow the road. We tried to be ahead of the curve. I don't want to ever be perceived that we are just trying to dump this road on the county. We are not. We want to find a better way. I think Tom mentioned in the last meeting that this is unfortunately not the priority for plowing that road because we got to plow the residential and the commercial roads, but we will continue to plow the road to the best of our ability. Tom's going to give you an update on the equipment issue. And then on the flip side, just, for as big a headache as I can make this out to be, I'd rather deal with this than no snow at all up there. Fast forward for when the summer season's coming, the other issue that always comes up, whether it's plowing Ever Memorial Road, is when we open up the upper gate. I'm going to assume that we have so much snow it's going to be later than normal, but we'll deal with that when we come. I'm going to turn over to Tom Deeney, our Public Works, to give you an update on the equipment issue.
Good evening. Tom Deeney, Director of Public Works for Siskiyou County. So where we currently stand is in not a good position. The new plow that we had for Mount Shasta has blown its main drive 5 times this season. We upgraded the drive for the last 2 tries to a prototype chain gearbox that also blew up, and then we got another chain gearbox that was supposed to be more robust, and it blew up as well. The county step going forward is I've leveraged against Pape, our broker for this. They're going to buy the machine back for me, and I'm going to get another new machine exactly like the one I'm running in Scott Valley. The Scott Valley machine has had no issues, so that's what we anticipate, hopefully, when we get it here. As far as what I'm doing currently, the Scott Valley machine is up on Etna Mountain. It will clear that in the next couple of days. Then I'm low-bowing it here to Mount Shasta. We will start on Everett, get it opened all the way back up, and then we will do Castle. The anticipated time, it's probably going to take me another couple of weeks, depending on when I get that in here. It's been a tough year, and that's where we stand. Thank you.
And I just want to follow up that the SORA had a meeting that I have attended. I'll be attending that meeting in April. Tom will not. He's been through 4 meetings with this, so just want to give you an update that we are going to continue to plow that road. And unless something changes for the better, which is hopefully something will come out of SORA, that's where we are at this moment in time. So thank you.
Can we go next? Good afternoon, Tanya Dowse. I'm with the Siskiyou Economic Development Council. I'm joined by my colleague Heather Dodds, and we're here in response to the discussion that you had at your last council meeting regarding the Discover Siskiyou program. I want to start by saying that personally, myself, as well as our team and the work that we do in economic development around Siskiyou County, we've had a many-year, indeed many decade-long relationship, being a solid partner with the City of Mount Shasta on many priorities for your benefit. Indeed, we have been sitting here with you all along trying to solve this particular problem related to Everett Memorial Highway. and our team is committed to staying with you to try to solve the problem. However, we're here to respectfully request that you rescind the decision you made at the last meeting to withhold the funding for Discover Siskiyou. Indeed, we're here to deliver a letter from our attorney who outlines how inappropriate the action would be, indeed unlawful. And by way of context, just a little bit of explanation about an assessment district, because I was a little surprised at the lack of understanding throughout the conversation that you had at your last meeting. Assessment districts are created by the businesses who pay into them. And Discover Siskiyou is governed by lodging properties who assess themselves a 2% fee in order to invest in the businesses that they operate. The law that allows assessment districts to exist is very stringent, and you have to demonstrate a direct benefit to the businesses who pay into it. So this decision doesn't really have any bearing on what the county does or doesn't do. This is simply the investment made by businesses in the city of Mount Shasta, and withholding the funds would cause harm to those businesses. Happy to come at a future date and provide more in-depth background and context and maybe a little training on assessment districts, because an assessment district may be in your future as we look at other infrastructure needs for businesses to be successful in the city of Mount Shasta. Heather, what did I forget to say?
Hi, I'm Heather Cipollone. I'm Program Director for Discover Siskiyou. I did just want to mention briefly, because some of the comments when I watched the recording of the last meeting maybe made it sound like some members of the council thought that the assessment came out of TOT, like it was taken off the top of TOT, and just wanted to really clarify that it's completely separate. Our funds are never received by the county, so it wouldn't be touching the county at all. And also just that we have an open door, and we have a lot of projects going on in Mount Shasta right now, a lot of future projects in the works, and we're so happy to keep you in the loop and share those with you. We have an industry updates email that goes out every month to kind of talk about those opportunities, so if you're not on it, let me know. I'm happy to add you, and yeah, we just want to make sure that you're updated and informed about what we're doing. And like Tanya said, we've really appreciated having a strong relationship with the city in the past and hope that that can continue.
Thank you for the time to comment.
No worries, thank you. Okay, seeing nobody else, we'll close public comment, bring it back for council and staff comments. Todd, you can start us off.
There's some speaker feedback.
We got some feedback.
Okay, let me see if I can, okay, good. First off, good and bad news. Had a meeting, finally, I've been trying to get with Joe Pinsino and his rep out of Reading, this Frank Bramante. So the bad is our concerns about health. Frank, who is kind of the person that does the local fixing for Joe Pinsino, who owns the development company, I spoke to him. Apparently I'm speaking to him from a hospital bed. He's been there since mid-January. Joe was on this call. He just went through a diagnosis where he had to have his voice box removed. So we've got health issues, but they're lucid. They want to move forward. And in this meeting, what I told them that we need now, especially since we have this downtime as we go through the Surplus Lands Act, is to show a presence by the developer. And if you probably hire a planning firm to come out and talk about the programming that you plan for the landing in a public workshop so people from the community can provide comments and to refine the programming for this site, and make sure that we've got buy-in from the majority of the community, or I told them, frankly, you're not going to have any luck. So you need to have that presence, and I'm meeting with them tomorrow morning, and we're going to talk about next steps and timing for that to happen. So I'm hoping this all still comes together. I have some concerns, but that's where we are. So not the right time to be talking about any kind of property acquisition. I don't know how this person, anyway, a homeowner, an old antique store on Pine Street, set up a meeting with me. He has that old vacant antique store that he would like to sell to the city for volunteer firefighter housing, district expansion. It's not the right time, but he is looking for just over $200,000 for that. Needs some work. I haven't seen it, but I'm just throwing it out there, at some later date. If we had the money in the long run, the biggest issue for us in keeping volunteers on staff is we've got a lot of interest from the community college, but we don't have a place to put these folks up. Anyway, just throwing it out there. I didn't want to say I didn't mention it to you guys. So the other thing, I had a meeting with the vice president of Bay Area Receivership Group last week, and now that the site has been the old hospital has been cleaned up and environmentally remediated, to my surprise, what I was told is that, okay, now that it's clean, you need to make a decision whether your attorney wants to go back to the courts and have them, declare that the original property owner's property is in receivership so we can get an RFP put out. That's not my understanding. I called Johns Noreen from Kenny Noreen. It's not his understanding either. We're trying to sort that piece out. So more to come on that. And that's the main stuff. I think one of the things that we haven't talked about in a while, I mentioned this probably 8 months ago, is we were in negotiations for the well, the Deck 6 well. And we got to a place with the owner of the property that, and we went round and round. He believes, he was willing to share some of the water from that well to allow us to balance out our system. But he wanted to actually hold control over it, and he was under the impression that he had water rights. And we had hired a firm, if you recall, Somac, Simmons & Dunn, or water law experts. We went round and round, and and this guy's not budging off his notion that they're water rights. What he did allow us is to get in there, do environmental, an examination fully. We had a grant to make that work, get that work done, and we are on our last extension, on our 5th extension. So that work's done. And so, because this guy is not willing to negotiate right now, what we have done, and I think some people are thinking we've been continuing to negotiate or do something with these wells and not sharing this information with the public, is we've stopped and nothing has happened in the last 8 months. And the thinking is that when the property owner figures out that when he wants to develop that property, that it's under county zoning, it's large acre, I think it's a couple acres per property, that there's no way he's going to get any projects out there to pencil. The only way he's going to have any luck is if he annexes into the city into lot sizes that are much, much smaller, and he can make a profit. So I'm waiting for him to realize that he needs us, and he needs to annex into the city, and he needs us to supply that water for him. So just an update for folks in case they didn't hear the first update about 8 months ago.
Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Any other department heads real quick? Chief? Okay. Any other counselors? Okay. I just want to personally thank Ed and Tom coming down from the county again to fill us in with more excuses, and I look forward to hearing them give more excuses, and then next time we meet after that, more excuses, and for the foreseeable future, more fucking excuses. So thanks, guys, for coming in. All right. Move on to committee updates. Todd, it's yours.
The DEAC, we had a DEAC special meeting that was scheduled, and a couple members were traveling, and there's a certain number of meetings we're allowed to have remotely, and they've met that number. And so until we've got a quorum here in place, we can't meet again, so it was canceled.
All right, moving on to the consent agenda. City manager recommends approval of the following consent agenda items. All resolutions and ordinances on this agenda or added hereto shall be introduced and adopted as applicable by title only, and the full reading thereof is hereby waived. A, approval of minutes, March 10th, 2025, regular city council meeting. B, approval of disbursements, accounts payable, 3/27/25 and 3/11/25, and total gross payroll and taxes for periods ending 3/6/25 and 3/20/25. C, monthly invest report. D, housing element annual progress report. E, city policy for replacement housing. Do you have a motion?
Move to approve consent agenda items A through E by title only.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, 5-0. All right, and now moving on to dispatch proclamation, and Chief Gibson has this one.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This year, the National Telecommunication Week is kicking off. It'll be April 13th through April 19th nationwide. The City of Mount Shasta is privileged to have a professional staff of dedicated public safety dispatchers. These dispatchers are the first person a person typically comes in contact with, and is usually in the most stressful time of that person's life. These faceless professionals provide calm and reassurance while at the same time dispatching police, fire, and EMS to assist the citizens in need. Public safety dispatchers are also the lifeline for first responders, providing the needed resources and information needed to help first responders stay safe and go home to their families at the end of their shifts. This time I'd like to recognize our public dispatchers. Jennifer Lensing is our dispatch supervisor. She started with the police department in November of 2021, took over as the dispatch supervisor in July of 2023. Amber Ori is our police services manager. She was hired as a dispatcher in April of 2019 and was promoted to her current position in 2022, but she still fills in as an emergency dispatcher when we need a spot filled. Krista DeVoyle is our dispatcher. She's been with the department since April of 2022. Shearston Fox, dispatcher with the department since April of 2024. And no, there wasn't a conspiracy to hire all dispatchers in April. Lauren Cardial is dispatcher. She worked with us previously from July 2019 to May of 2020, left for bigger and better, and came back in March of 2024 as our dispatcher. And finally, our newest dispatcher is Megan Lee. She is our part-time on-call dispatcher, graduate of Mount Shasta High School, also did her Mount Shasta High School senior project with the department, and she's been dispatching since July of 2024. So just take a little time. I don't know if the mayor's going to read the proclamation.
We're ready for that. Okay. So proclamation proclaiming April 13th through April 19th, 2025 as National Telecommunications Week in Mount Shasta, California. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, or emergency medical services, and whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property, and whereas public safety dispatchers are the single vital link for our police officers and firefighters by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information, and ensuring their safety, and whereas the City of Mount Shasta public safety dispatchers play a vital role in the protection of human life and property in our community. And whereas public safety dispatchers are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services, and whereas the safety of our police officers and firefighters is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the Mount Shasta Police Fire Communications Center, and whereas public safety dispatchers of the Mount Shasta Police Department have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients, and whereas dispatchers efficiently coordinate emergency service for both man-made and natural disasters to ensure the health and safety of our citizens, travelers, and tourists in our city, on our highways, and backcountry 24 hours a day. And whereas Mount Shasta Public Safety dispatchers endure long shifts and handle frequent life and death emergencies, dispatchers set high standards in performing their duties in a dedicated, diligent, and compassionate manner. And whereas dispatchers are rarely visible to the public while performing an exceptional service that deserves praise and recognition. And whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year. Now, therefore, I, John Redmond, Mayor of the City of Mount Shasta, do hereby proclaim the week of April 13th through April 19th, 2025 as National Telecommunications Week in Mount Shasta in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our city and citizens safe. So thank you. I'll give them a round of applause. I look forward to signing this. All right. So moving on to number 9, the Downtown Economic Enhancement Program Report. And Todd or Jeff, this is both you. Jump on in.
Todd's going to lead this one off. I'll tag in.
I'm not, we need to confirm.
Oh, did I forget about the public comment on this? It being an agenda item, I forgot to open it up for that, didn't I?
Well, no, we're wondering if we need to take a vote on a proclamation. We haven't in the
No, we've never
past.
done that, no. But I do have to open it up for public comment, being an agenda item, don't I? Yes. All right, anybody in the public want to talk? Seeing none? There, we got that over with. All right. Moving it back to, number 9, Downtown Economic Enhancement Program Report.
Really quick, so, Jeff and I introduced this topic last time, and, ultimately, I'm going to turn this over to Jeff, but this is just for council to look at the, at the typical, what's called, in planning terms, the SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and get some feedback from the public on just our baseline. And, we have a set of hard proposals for incentives and other strategies that we will introduce, but we wanted to, take a pulse of business owners within the downtown district, and then introduce some hard strategies, and then bring that back again to the public and make sure that we're refining this plan. It's essentially, are you okay with this questionnaire going out? We'll use business records for the downtown district to make sure this gets to them, or we send them links. So I don't know, Jeff, do you have anything you want to add?
That's basically it. I'm here to answer questions for you. I've given this a little more thought in terms of trying to edify each of those 6 steps. Happy to answer questions for you. But in essence, we're looking for direction, either sign off on the contents of the questionnaire, clarity on the process. If you want to dig into some of the attachments, examples from previous SWOT analysis, and then also how we tend to and would propose to make sense of those strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and give you guys something tangible to prioritize. We've got some sample prioritization criteria, and happy to answer questions for you. So that's it.
Anybody have a question? Yeah, go ahead, Casey.
The example SWOT here listed, it doesn't actually, I'm assuming it's this one at the bottom here. Doesn't say attachment 2 on it, but you said it's a nearby city?
Yeah, Scott Valley was that now?
Oh, Scott Valley, okay, because I was going to say it looks very similar to what what we expect to see the results from Mount Shasta, probably. That was mainly my question, was where that had come from, or where so this was this an example that was done, or did they go through this same analysis
Same process, and it felt like last time especially, you all needed some clarity on where's the meat, and this is really it. I mean, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, the moment you pick at that, you realize they're all interconnected. Typically, you know, a strength is something you convert to an opportunity pretty easily. You can see the nexus there. If you think about it a little bit more, you can understand how the strategies to do that might overlap. Two birds with one stone, you resolve a strength and a weakness with one opportunity or strategy to implement on that opportunity. And, you know, the threats kind of tend to go away if you do your job right. So that's what we do to make sense of all this once the data comes in, and
cool.
Get back to you.
Okay.
Any other questions from council? No? All right, we'll open this up to public comment. Seeing none, we'll close public comment, bring it back. Any thoughts from anybody?
To the chair. I'm just curious, what's the time frame? So we send this out to, what does it say, to businesses and to residents. What's the time frame for getting a response and then putting it all together?
It could be a cycle or two of your meetings, so, you know, 60 days outside. We'd like to get it digital, so we're not trying to reproduce 120 hard copy surveys, but we've got the data from a mailing for our underground utility district. We'd use that. So I know hard copy goes a long way here. What I would like to do is use that as an opportunity to steer folks toward a digital questionnaire, though.
Cool. Just as a comment, it seems like it seems quite useful to just sort of like put a bunch of data and at least get a synthesis of what people in the community are thinking about things that need to happen and change, and a good way to visualize it.
Yeah, go ahead,
Please.
So what are the boundaries? It's in the map, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just thought, you know, the downtown district proper, there's a lot of options, but it seems sensible to focus it really on the C1 or downtown zoning, particularly mixed use, and keep it tight to start with. If the data points to maybe scaling this up to include more of central Mount Shasta, we would do it. I strongly encourage us to think of this as an opportunity to gauge both merchant, property owner, and resident input in that boundary. Due to the fact that a resident, while in a residentially occupied building, is in a C1 zoning district, it may not have occurred to them that they could conduct business legally and with the city's support to help generate tax base by, in a sense, growing up, not out, with mixed-use activity. So that's the flip side of casting the net as wide as we possibly would with respect to staff resources, but also doing it in a mixed-use context so you get both perspectives.
To the chair.
Go ahead.
In the questionnaire, it says, see attached example. Are you planning on giving the example with the questionnaire?
Good question. Yes, in short, I think it helps. I would probably take another pass at customizing this a little bit and making a little more generic. I think the words Scott Valley appear in the questionnaire as examples. So I would strike, obviously, the previous community, and I would make it very clear that this information was derived from a similar community with natural resource assets and how do you monetize it kind of approach, which was the real crux of the issue in Scotts Valley. How do we grow up beyond an agrarian community? How do we do so sensitively and celebrating context without becoming something we're not?
And I don't know what's better or worse. It definitely gives a lot of examples for people to choose from, but I worry that it would limit some informational bias. And
True, good point.
not open it up, but
Yeah.
yeah, those are good examples.
So you're going to clean this up, right? You're not going to use this exact one, all right?
Right,
Because
absolutely.
there's no pool here. There isn't in that now. Are you ready for lots of maybe negativity?
I think so. You know,
Because I get that all day.
yeah, we're used to it.
Well, both from the city council perspective and from the ALSCO perspective.
Yeah.
Lots of
just
room
want-
for lots of room for improvement.
Yes, sir, yeah. I mean, you'll
As long as you can,
you'll get an uptick of traffic after this gets sent out. The hope is that it'll be clear enough that we can intervene and provide a little bit of a buffer, if you will, and to translate some of, and it's not beyond, beneath us to point to recent successes in the last handful of years. I think we've made measurable result already, so we'll let that be known.
Okay, well, this is just a report, right? We don't have to approve any of this, yeah.
Unless you have specific questions or want to weigh in on whether or not to Tessa's point, to include samples cleaned up. If you're fine with that, that's what we'll do. Thin it out. There's a few redundancies in here as well, and tighten it up, so. Yeah.
Cool. You have our blessing.
Move forward.
All right, moving on, number 10, the appointment of ad hoc committee master fee schedule. Jeff, you're at the beginning.
Yeah, Todd, you want to-
Excuse me. This is a little bit of housekeeping from last time. You know, as a reminder, all of us in-house have been looking at the services that we've been providing, whether it's building inspection services, planning review, public works, you know, police, like dog licensing, whatever, you know, a bunch of stuff. So we have, you know, preliminary rates, you know, that we would like to bring to council, you know, so we were able to, you know, engage in a full cost recovery model. And the idea here is to have an ad hoc committee to poke holes in, you know, our methodology, or, you know, saying, hey, you know, politically this is too high and we think this is going to impact businesses. And, you know, there are probably more elements that we haven't touched that we could add in terms of cost recovery, but we don't want to, you know, to include that stuff if the rate is already too high. So I think we need to test flight this in an ad hoc committee before it's ready for prime time. And I know Councilperson Glaubman and, you know, and our mayor have volunteered, they've stepped forward. This is just officially codifying it.
Okay, any questions for Todd? Do you want to open this up? All right, we'll open it. No, you're okay. Open it up for public comment. Seeing none, we'll close it. Back to council.
I'll move to appoint
Okay.
Mayor Redmond and Councilmember Glaubman to the ad hoc committee for fee schedule changes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. All right, moving on to council reports on outside meetings. Anybody, Collier Group this last week? Anybody?
It's tomorrow.
Oh,
Probably not going to make it.
that's too bad.
It's in Doris, yeah.
Why are they doing it there? Good Lord.
It's too far.
Kidding. All right, moving on to future agenda items. Beautification committee presentation to council to be determined. And then all of these are to be determined, save time. So we've got the survey of Washington Avenue, discussion of possible action, rental, lease, or purchase of lot located at the northwest corner of Alma and North Mount Shasta Boulevard, rebudgeting of the 25-26 fiscal year, and then the master fee schedule review. Anybody want to add anything? Sweet.
I've got one question. Do we want to pull Washington Street survey and the purchase of Alma off for the time being, given where our budget is, or just keep it on and figure out what we need to do later on? Because I know Washington, there was a lot of surveying of, I think it was 18 properties, and the original estimate about a year and a half ago was about $70,000.
So just take it out for 6 months or something, possibly longer?
It's your call, as long, I mean, it's fine to be on there, as long as you guys aren't just sick of looking at it.
Well, I don't really want to look at this for 2 years like we did with the water extraction from Raven for pretty much, Tessa's entire first term. So, yeah, I mean, we can, if you, council's okay with that, just take that off of there for now, because obviously I don't think that's anything we will be getting to with the budget looming over us. So looming. All right, well, on that, we are done until 3 weeks from now with the 5th Monday next week. So, see y'all then.
Thanks, everyone.